What does it mean to turn history into horror? Can music save a community from monsters, both real and imagined? And when a filmmaker swings for something this ambitious, does it become a masterpiece or a beautiful mess? These questions sit at the heart of Sinners, the 2025 horror epic written and directed by Ryan Coogler. On the surface, it's a vampire movie set in the 1930s American South. But underneath the blood, blues music, and supernatural chaos lies something far more deliberate, a meditation on racial violence, cultural identity, and survival. In many ways, the film represents horror evolving into something larger, less about cheap scares and more about confronting the ghosts of history itself. Set in 1932 Mississippi, the story follows twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who return to their hometown hoping to start over. They open a juke joint, part bar, part sanctuary, where music, community, and hope briefly flourish. But when a supernatural evil emerges, the celebration transforms into a desperate fight for survival. What begins as a grounded historical drama slowly morphs into a nightmarish siege involving vampires, folklore, and the dark forces lurking beneath American history. And that transformation is exactly what makes Sinners one of the most talked about films of the decade. Background and context. To understand why Sinners carries so much weight, it helps to look at the career of its director. Before this film, Ryan Coogler had already built a reputation as one of the most influential filmmakers of his generation. His debut film, Fruitvale Station, was an intimate and devastating portrayal of police violence in America. Then came Creed, which revitalized the Rocky franchise while grounding it in themes of legacy and identity. And of course, the cultural phenomenon that was Black Panther proved Coogler could blend blockbuster spectacle with powerful social commentary. Sinners represents something different. It's his first completely original large-scale film since Fruitvale Station, and it pushes his storytelling instincts further than ever before. Produced with a budget estimated between $90 and $100 million and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, the film reunites Coogler with several longtime collaborators. Cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapow provides the film's haunting visual style, while composer Ludwig Göransson crafts a score deeply rooted in blues traditions. The result is something rare, a Southern Gothic horror musical with blockbuster scale. That description alone sounds unusual, yet it's exactly this unusual combination that defines the film's identity. Critics and audiences have compared Sinners to genre hybrids like From Dusk Till Dawn and the socially conscious horror of Get Out. But even those comparisons only partially capture what Coogler is attempting here. Plot and premise. The story unfolds in the Mississippi Delta during the height of the Jim Crow era. Twin brothers Smoke and Stack return home after years away, hoping to leave their criminal past behind. Their dream is surprisingly simple: build a juke joint where local musicians and laborers can gather, dance, and escape the brutal realities of segregation for a few hours. For a while it works. Music fills the air. The blues becomes the emotional heartbeat of the community. A young prodigy named Sammy, played by newcomer Miles Caton, captures everyone's attention with a voice that feels almost supernatural. But then something darker arrives. Drawn by Sammy's music and the energy of the juke joint, a mysterious vampire presence begins infiltrating the town. Slowly, the film shifts tone from historical drama into supernatural horror as the characters realize they're trapped in a deadly siege. The vampires in Sinners aren't just traditional monsters. They function almost like a hive mind, absorbing victims and expanding their influence across the community, which is where the allegory becomes impossible to ignore. The creatures represent systems of exploitation that feed on Black culture while attempting to control or erase it. As the juke joint becomes a battleground, the characters' fight for survival begins to mirror a broader struggle for cultural autonomy and dignity. In other words, horror isn't just supernatural, it's historical. Critical reception. When Sinners premiered in April 2025, critics responded with overwhelming enthusiasm. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds a remarkable 97% approval rating from critics, with audiences responding just as strongly. Many reviews praised the film's ambition and originality. Some critics even described it as one of the most daring American films in years, applauding its ability to merge historical storytelling with genre spectacle. The film also became a box office success, earning over $370 million worldwide, an impressive figure for a completely original film not based on an existing franchise. But the response wasn't entirely unanimous. Some critics argued that the film's dramatic genre shift from period drama to supernatural horror felt jarring. Others suggested the movie occasionally struggled under the weight of its many themes. Yet even the negative reviews acknowledged something important. Whether viewers loved it or not, Sinners was undeniably ambitious. And in an era dominated by sequels and cinematic universes, ambition alone made the film stand out. Performances. A large part of the film's success comes from its performances. Michael B. Jordan delivers one of the most challenging roles of his career, playing twin brothers with distinct personalities and emotional arcs. Smoke is the hardened pragmatist, shaped by years of violence and survival. Stack, by contrast, carries a sense of restless optimism. The subtle differences in posture, voice, and temperament make the twins feel genuinely separate, an impressive technical and emotional achievement. But the film's emotional core arguably belongs to Miles Caton as Sammy. Making his film debut, Caton plays the preacher's son, whose extraordinary musical talent becomes both a source of hope and a dangerous beacon. His performance during the film's musical sequences, particularly the haunting blues numbers, anchors the movie's emotional stakes. Supporting actors also add tremendous depth. Delroy Lindo brings gravitas to every scene he appears in, while Wunmi Mosaku delivers a powerful performance balancing vulnerability and strength. Meanwhile, Haley Steinfeld adds an intriguing outsider perspective within the story's tense social environment. Together, the cast helps ground the film's larger themes in human emotion. Technical artistry. Visually, Sinners is one of the most striking films of the decade. Cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapow uses large-format IMAX photography to create sweeping, dreamlike images of the Mississippi Delta. Candlelit interiors, smoky dance floors, and moonlit cotton fields create a visual style that feels both intimate and mythic. The film's sound design and music play an equally crucial role. Composer Ludwig Göransson blends traditional blues instrumentation with eerie orchestral elements. Many of the musical sequences were recorded live during filming, giving them an immediacy rarely heard in modern cinema. These sequences aren't just performances, they're narrative events. Music becomes a spiritual force in the film, one capable of connecting past, present, and future. The editing also contributes to the film's unique rhythm. The first half unfolds slowly, allowing viewers to absorb the historical setting and characters. Then almost abruptly, the movie pivots into full-scale horror. For some viewers, this transition feels exhilarating. For others, disorienting. But either way, it's impossible to ignore. Themes and symbolism. At its core, Sinners belong to the Southern Gothic tradition. This literary and cinematic style explores decay, violence, and moral conflict in the American South. Haunted landscapes, religious imagery, and historical trauma often define the genre. Sinners used all of these elements. The vampires serve as a powerful allegory for systemic oppression, entities that consume and control communities while disguising themselves within them. Meanwhile, music becomes the film's counterforce. The blues isn't just background atmosphere, it represents cultural resistance. It's a form of expression born from suffering, but transformed into art and identity. Sammy, the preacher's son, embodies this tension between spirituality and creativity. His music draws supernatural attention, yet it also becomes the community's greatest weapon against darkness. Faith, art, and survival intertwine throughout the story. And by the end, the film suggests that culture itself can be a form of resistance. Awards and legacy. Even before award season concluded, Sinners had already made history. The film earned a remarkable 16 nominations at the Academy Awards, setting a record for a horror film and positioning it as a major Best Picture contender. Beyond awards, the movie sparked broader cultural conversations. Scholars and critics debated its portrayal of race, folklore, and genre storytelling. Many described it as proof that horror could function as a powerful medium for historical reflection. And perhaps most importantly, it demonstrated that original stories could still succeed commercially in a franchise-dominated industry. Comparative analysis. It's tempting to compare Sinners to other genre-defying films. Like From Dusk Till Dawn, the film famously shifts tone halfway through, from grounded crime drama to supernatural horror. Like Get Out, it uses horror as a vehicle for exploring racial tension and historical trauma. And like Blade, it places a black protagonist at the center of a vampire narrative. Yet Sinners ultimately distinguishes itself through two elements. First, its integration of music. Blues culture isn't just aesthetic decoration, it drives the story itself. Second, its historical setting. Few horror films engage so directly with the realities of the Jim Crow South. By combining that historical context with supernatural elements, the movie transforms genre storytelling into cultural commentary. In many ways, Sinners feels like a film that deliberately risks failure. It blends horror, musical storytelling, historical drama, and social allegory into one sprawling narrative. At times, ambition threatens to overwhelm the structure, but that ambition is also what makes the film remarkable, because when it works, and often it does, it transforms horror into something deeper, a way of confronting history, identity, and the lingering shadows of the past. So maybe the most interesting question about Sinners isn't whether it's perfect. Maybe the real question is whether cinema needs more films willing to take risks like this. Is Sinners a modern masterpiece or a beautiful mess of bold ideas? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the film, be sure to like the video, share it with other movie fans, and subscribe subscribe for more in-depth cinematic analysis.